How well do you know your doctors? Have you ever looked them up? Or do you just trust them blindly? These are stories of bad doctors who were trusted by patients like yourself. We will chronicle stories ranging from medical malpractice and addictions to sexual assault and child pornography by pediatricians. Don't assume your doctor will honor the oath to do no harm. Be prepared. First up, 4 stories of sexual misconduct from California. Number 1, Dr. Jeffrey J. Abrams, an endocrinologist from El Cajon, California. Dr. Abrams worked at a low-income clinic treating women for a variety of conditions. In January of 2014, a woman came forward to say she believed Dr. Abrams had touched her inappropriately and had taken pictures of her naked. The Medical Board of California began an investigation of these claims. In July of 2014, the investigator documented that he was aware that Dr. Abrams had 1,300 explicit pictures of female patients on his cell phone. This included pictures of an 8-year-old girl. Despite this evidence, the investigator allowed Abrams to remain in practice and waited until October to request the search warrant on Abrams' phone. The woman victim, frustrated with inaction by the medical board, by mid-October, went to a San Diego news station which broke the story. Other women came forward claiming they too had been inappropriately touched by Abrams, often with ungloved hands. Abrams was finally arrested on November 7, 2014, and was charged with 24 felony counts, including penetration of an unconscious person, sexual battery, and possession of child pornography. He pleaded guilty to 12 of those charges, yet at his sentencing was only given 1 year house arrest and 5 years probation instead of the expected 25 years in prison. Abrams had told the judge that he was suffering from kidney cancer and could not get the care he needed in prison. The medical board waited until after sentencing to file an accusation against Abrams. It included the cases of 12 of his victims, who all claimed they had been sexually assaulted by Abrams. Abrams was allowed to surrender his medical license on June of 2016. He is also required to register as a sex offender. The true number of women Abrams assaulted may never be known, since the low-income clinic served many immigrant women who do not speak English well or would be afraid to report an assault by a doctor. Number 2, Dr. John Parkinson, an internal medicine doctor specializing in oncology of Fairfield, California, a small town just outside of San Francisco. Dr. Parkinson was a highly revered pillar of the community and his local Mormon church. A female patient started seeing him in late 1977 when she became plagued with cramps and diarrhea. Parkinson prescribed her some low-grade antibiotics, which he had her take for more than a year, and would stick his fingers inside her private parts at every visit. But her medical conditions didn't go away. Eventually, she stopped going to see Parkinson and stopped taking the medications he had prescribed, and that's when she started to feel better. Suspicious, she made another appointment to see Parkinson, who again told her that she was very ill. That same afternoon, she went to see a different specialist who told her there was nothing wrong with her and that there was nothing that staying away from the other doctor wouldn't cure. A visit to a third doctor confirmed that she was perfectly healthy. The patient started talking to other women in town who had had similar experiences with Dr. Parkinson. At least one woman complained that he would give her a pelvic exam every time she went in for an appointment, for no medical reason. Medical board complaints were filed and an investigation was begun. The investigator's phone started ringing constantly with calls from women who had heard about the Parkinson complaint from their neighbors. In 1993, more than 100 people showed up for a hearing that would temporarily stop Parkinson from practicing. But instead, the judge limited the doctor to treating male patients only. The next year, 129 witnesses took the stand to testify in a hearing against Dr. Parkinson, a hearing that took 9 weeks. In 1995, Parkinson was found guilty of practicing outside the accepted medical standard and gross negligence. The judge didn't find him guilty of sexual abuse or misconduct because, he said, the state had not proven that Parkinson received any sexual gratification from his acts. The medical board revoked Parkinson's license. However, he continued to treat patients. After another patient complained, Parkinson was arrested in the parking lot of his office. By the time he finally came to trial on criminal charges in May of 1977, he had already settled 16 malpractice suits. He was convicted of 16 felony counts of sexual penetration and 2 felony counts of practicing medicine without a license, and was sentenced to 6 years in prison. But in 2003, a judge reversed the ruling based on juror bias and misconduct, and Parkinson was released. Number 3. Dr. Scott Takasugi, a plastic surgeon in Carmichael, California, near Sacramento. Dr. Takasugi was a plastic surgeon who worked at Kaiser Permanente in Sacramento. His specialty was medically necessary breast reduction surgery and reconstruction. In June of 2006, a lawsuit was filed alleging sexual exploitation, that Takasugi had taken unnecessary pictures of women's private parts. 3 patients were initially named as victims in a search warrant. When officers went to Takasugi's house to arrest him, they were shocked to find illegal weapons, a rocket launcher, a number of assault weapons, and 10,000 rounds of ammunition. As the investigation became public, more than 40 women came forward to say that they too had been victimized by Dr. Takasugi. They all had the same story of having pictures taken. Some also had been inappropriately touched. They all claimed that Takasugi would have them disrobed to take pictures so that he could match the color of their private parts with the new breast tissue. He promoted this ruse by having paint swatches in the exam room. The investigation also revealed that the 2006 victims were not alone. Kaiser had received complaints from other women regarding Takasugi's conduct going back to 2001, but these complaints were never referred to the local police or to the medical board. Takasugi initially faced a 21-count felony indictment, which included charges for illegal weapons. However, he was allowed to plea bargain to just 2 counts of sexual exploitation. His sentence was delayed twice due to the death of his father, and then because he ended up on a 72-hour mental health hold. His final sentence? Just 3 years and 8 months in prison, the maximum sentence for these crimes. Takasugi was also ordered to register as a sex offender and ultimately surrendered his license. At one point, the state of California said there would be an investigation into why Kaiser Permanente failed to report the complaints. However, there's no indication there was any investigation or any call to hold Kaiser accountable for keeping Takasugi in practice despite the complaints of sexual misconduct. Number 4. Dr. Thomas Tartaro, a neurologist in Centro, California, just south of the Salton Sea. In the late 80s, Dr. Tartaro began taking a combination of barbiturates and caffeine, often taking as many as 30 pills a day. He also began relying on alcohol at night and also took Valium. In 1990, a patient complained that the doctor was making sexual phone calls to her. The medical board warned him that he needed to have a chaperone in the room. He testified later that the warning had a big effect, but just for a short time, as he resumed his drug abuse shortly thereafter. According to medical board documents, in or around 1993, 24 victims complained that Dr. Tartaro sexually assaulted them. 6 of those patients revealed that during examinations in his office, he inappropriately touched them with his hands and rubbed against them with his clothed, erect penis, and often made remarks that were sexually aggressive. As is often the case with sexual abuse cases, 8 of the victims wished to remain silent. In January of 1994, Tartaro was convicted of just one count relating to one of the patients, and the remaining counts were dismissed. He was sentenced to state prison for 4 years. However, that sentence was suspended, and he was placed on formal probation for 5 years with various terms and conditions, including that he serve 90 days in county jail and that his medical license be restricted during probation. Anyone can become a victim of sexual assault in a doctor's office. In order to protect yourself from unwanted sexual contact in a doctor's office, always ask for a chaperone when undergoing any kind of personal examination. No member of the office staff, including the doctor, should watch you disrobe or change into an examination gown, or watch you put your clothes on again. Any type of exam should be medically necessary. For example, if you go in for a sprained ankle, the doctor should not pressure you into a breast exam. You always have the right to say no to any treatment or procedure. Watch for more videos of bad doctors so you can learn how to better protect yourself.